One Zambia, One Nation. Thank you so much for joining us on the news desk. We are coming to you from the mass media complex in Osaka. Here are the top stories. President Hichilema invited to attend Saudi African Summit slated for November. RIA commissions Chiobola Chisuo power grid. World Bank invests 1.8 million kwacha in fish production in Eastern Province. Plus, traditional leaders urged to emulate Chitimukulu-Litunga relations. With the news in detail, my name is Amos Zulu. Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia Mohammed bin Salman has invited President Hakainde Hichilema to attend Saudi African Summit scheduled for November this year. Saudi Royal Court advisor Ahmed Katan issued the invitation when he paid a courtesy call on President Hichilema at State House in Osaka.
Zambia is one of the African countries which Saudi Arabia has enjoyed outstanding relationships with. It is on this basis that Saudi Royal Court advisor Ahmed Katan today paid a courtesy call on President Hakainde Hichilema at State House and delivered an invitation message to attend the Saudi African Summit slated for November this year.
Saudi Arabia decided to have the two African summits, the 10th and the 11th of November this year. It will be in Riyadh, and we invited 54 leaders to be in Saudi Arabia during that time. Two summits. The first one is the Saudi African Summit, and it happens for the first time, and the Arab African Summit, and I think this is the fifth summit for the Arab African Summit.
And President Hichilema wants mutual agreements between the two countries to be implemented.
We cherish this friendship, this relationship. We value it. We believe that it's important that we deepen this relationship for mutual benefit. And there are many areas of mutual benefit that we have discussed in the past.
The head of state also identified mechanized agriculture, green energy, and petroleum production as areas to explore from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
The leading oil producers, they move towards climate change, mitigation issues, green economy, green energy. We know that you are investing a lot in that area, and we would like to cooperate with Saudi, the Saudi government and people through the King, Crown Prince, to jointly work on those opportunities that are clearly visible. And Zambia holds some of the alternative energy, materials, copper, cobalt, nickel, manganese, lithium-based minerals.
President Hichilema thanked Saudi Arabia for the multi-million-dollar women and children specialized hospital being constructed in Lusaka.
We also want to use this opportunity to express our appreciation for the King's gift of the hospital that is still under construction. And we hope that, Special Envoy, Your Excellency, and the Ambassador, that we can accelerate the completion of this hospital so that it can serve the purpose for which it was intended, which is to improve health service delivery to our citizens and those that live in this country and are able to access that facility.
Mtalakani for Zanis News in Lusaka.
And President Hichilema has urged policymakers and agenda setters on the African continent to support innovation and creativity among youths by investing in the right skills development and youth programs that respond to the needs of industries. In a speech read on his behalf by Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts, Elvis Nkandu, the head of state acknowledged the unemployment gap on the continent, leading to social strife among African countries. Here's a report.
According to the African Union statistics, young people account for 60% of Africa's population. However, the continent continues to have the highest youth unemployment levels in the world, thereby impacting the development of the continent. With the ongoing first ever African Continental Free Trade Area Youth Symposium, state parties have been urged to take affirmative actions aimed at facilitating the youth access to financing and venture in trade.
Governments are required to put into place programs and policies aimed at availing or accessing credit at a reasonable cost and using reasonable procedures. In most countries, taxes on trade are still high.
We affirm our support for the growth of youth entrepreneurs or enterprises that make strides to provide goods and services and products that will meet our need and as Africans.
Zambia, being a host country, President Hakainde Hichilema was represented by Minister of Youth, Sports and Arts, Elvis Nkando.
The continent needs to take its rightful position insofar as innovation and creativity is concerned. This being the cornerstones for investment and industrialization, the African continent boasts of having a youthful population. It is therefore incumbent on policymakers like ourselves and agenda setters like yourselves to support innovations and creativity among youths by investing in the right skills.
The voices of the youths were equally heard.
The Youth Charter was signed in 2006, and that's 13 years ago. And if we look at that, the current realities that are faced with young people today, a lot has changed. So my request in this meeting with the Ministers of Youth in June was to say, can we also revisit the Youth Charter?
The African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat said the platform creates synergies that will empower young people to be the driving force of Africa's development.
This is a clear manifestation of the continent's continuous efforts to transform Africa's youth badge into a demographic dividend for the sustainable development of the continent.
Promotion and enhanced trade among youths is an important tool for economic growth and a prerequisite for wealth creation and economic development for the continent. Vupesendo for Zanis in Lusaka.
The African Development Bank has allocated about $130,000 United States dollars to train 80 women contractors in Solwezi at Solwezi Trades Training Institute under the Lobito Training Program. Speaking when he launched a one-month program, Provincial Permanent Secretary Colonel Granson Katambi says the training is in line with the government's vision to implement policies that support the enhancement of local skills development and job creation. Here are the details.
These are part of the 80 women contractors that have been drawn from across Northwestern Province to undergo a 30-day training at Solwezi Trades Training Institute. The training is aimed at building capacity in women contractors in an effort to enhance their ability to perform and produce desired results to support infrastructure development for the Lobito project. Government is happy with the development.
This program has come at the right time when there is a new dawn government in this country. Our developmental vision is anchored on the development of socio-economic support services which enhance the livelihoods of the Zambians. These services include infrastructure such as roads, which we are going to undertake.
Solwezi Trades Training Institute has partnered with the National Council for Construction.
There are several challenges the construction industry faces in Zambia. It is key to ensure that the challenges are addressed with sustainable solutions to enhance a continuous quality of service delivery in the construction world, ensuring that individuals and contractors involved in the construction-related activities are equipped with skills that matches the prevailing technology on the market.
The government believes that enhancing sectoral skills development and technology transfer in the construction sector is key for developing the required infrastructure to steer economic diversification
And some beneficiaries are happy with the program.
This new Dawn government is doing a lot for us women's. As women's, he has been doing a lot for us. We didn't expect this, but from the Haiti women's, we will be able to be selected, and we are starting our lessons soon.
For Zanis News, I am Onishas Mamba in Solowezi District, Northwestern Province.
And one of the stories making headlines in our news, government through the Rural Electrification Authority REA has commissioned the Chiobola Chisuo Power Grid Extension Project in Monze District at a cost of over 5 million kwacha. Speaking when he officially launched the project, Monze District Commissioner Mwanza Malambo says government remains resolute to electrify all public facilities to enhance operations and service delivery to the people. And REA, Acting Southern Province Regional Manager Newton Lovu, says the project, which is expected to be complete in 8 months, will see Chiobola Hanamaila schools as well as Nalucha Health Posts connected to the national grid.
Government, through the Rural Electrification Authority, REA, has commissioned the Chiobola Chisuo Power Grid Extension Project that would connect schools, health facilities, and surrounding communities to the national power grid to improve service delivery and foster economic activities. Monze District Commissioner Mwanza Malambo officially launched the project.
We are grateful that when this project is handed over, as vigorous as you are with your team, you will be able to monitor it, you'll be able to service it, so that our people benefit, especially the learners in institutions and clinics. New Dawn government says every maternity wing must have electricity, must have water. Running water must be there. This is quite exciting. We feel so rejuvenated because this is quite a fundamental project which is for today and tomorrow. We are hopeful and we are determined to see that the project takes off according to the schedule.
The district commissioner also urged the contractor to employ local people during the implementation of the project.
Money must go down to the people. Any project, any local project which is introduced in that particular area, it must be the local people to be engaged so that they're able, end of the day, to get Ngwe.
This line is already surveyed, and like I said earlier on, it's 5.4 kilometers of a line from Charles Rwanga up to somewhere here where the transformer will be put. A 50 kVA transformer will be put to step down that 11 kV line to 0.4 kV or 400 volts. Then that 400 volts is the lines that are going to be constructed around this school to supply power to Chiobola Primary School and the agriculture camp and also the surrounding areas.
As a contractor, we are not going to import people from Lusaka or any other place to bring them over here. We shall only do that only for the skilled labor.
The local communities are excited about this development. Frederick Macha for Zanis News in Monze District, Southern Province.
Central Province Minister Credo Nanjua has urged the local authority in Kabwe to make it a requirement that traders insure their goods before paying for trading license. Mr. Nanjua expressed sadness that people are losing goods and property without any mitigation attached to it. The minister was speaking in Kabwe after he visited the debris of the goods from the 7 shops that were gutted in an inferno last Thursday. More in this report.
The fire that swept through 7 shops in Kabwe on a Thursday night has left many traders and property owners so devastated. Central Province Minister Credo Nanjua has taken time to visit some of the shops that were gutted as he commiserates with the property owners.
We are really touched as government in the province that the huge loss I can see. Small water touch. Yes. I can see. It's really sad.
He has urged business owners to ensure they secure their property through insurance.
It's lost from here. We know how many households are suffering now. So we can just urge that business people, let's see how we can secure ourselves, our assets, and our goods, so that we are, when such an occurrence happens, there's some kind of, mitigated loss.
Kabwe Mayor Patrick Shala is equally saddened that a number of people have lost jobs through the inferno that gutted the shops.
This is a great loss for Kabwe. You can imagine where we are losing about 7-8 shops at a time because of fire. This is very unfortunate for Kabwe. We are aware that each shop was probably having about 5 to 8 workers per shop, and on average coming to about 50. It's very, very unfortunate. Then we are aware that it means that people now who have difficulties in terms of putting food on the table.
And Kabwe Municipal Council Legal Officer Lueta Miyabala says the local authority will make it a requirement for traders to have their goods insured as they get their trading licenses.
Obviously, we are not privy, but I pick your point in such a way that when we are issuing trading license, as a way of cautioning people, they should, at least among the requirements that we request them to have, that they should also have it. They should make sure that there is insurance attached to their trading activities. Yes.
Says Daniel Billy, Zanis News, in Kabwe, Central Province.
Government says it recognizes the social cash transfer program as a key intervention that will address hunger and poverty in the social protection strategy. Muchinga Province Permanent Secretary Henry Mukungule made the observation when a team from the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services paid a courtesy call on him and Ministry of Community Development and Social Services Social Cash Transfer Manager Benedict Malungo, who is in the province, to witness the community validation of the potential social cash transfer beneficiaries, says the exercise is necessary to ensure only those eligible benefit from the program.
The social cash transfer program has continued to reduce extreme poverty among the vulnerable people in the country. To this effect, government is ensuring that more vulnerable people are added on the program. In order to do this, the process of validation is underway in Muchinga Province. Witnessing the validation process in Chivesa, Nashinga, and Lubwa areas, Ministry of Community Development and Social Services Social Cash Transfer Manager Benedict Malungo highlighted the importance of a validation exercise.
The idea is that the community itself should agree to say indeed the people that have been called can be put on the program. I want to emphasize that this is just a third step actually that we've undertaken. The names that have been called, it doesn't mean that you have been put on the program.
And the potential beneficiaries are optimistic that once they are added on the list, their lives will be improved. The reason I want to be on the program is poverty. I therefore want to thank government for ensuring that some of us are added on this group. I just want to urge my fellow potential beneficiaries that once they are added on the program, they should use the money for the intended purpose. Earlier, the team paid a courtesy call on the provincial administration.
The idea is to have community buy-in so that even as we are onboarding these possible beneficiaries on the program, and when they start receiving the resources or cash, there's no backlash. So if there's this understanding or awareness and agreement, then we are all moving in the same direction.
From this end, I think we are grateful that the social cash transfer is actually doing a lot for our people that are vulnerable. Some of the districts where the social cash transfer is being implemented, so that you can appreciate the challenges that are there.
Pamela Inamba reporting for Zanis in Chinsali, Muchinga Province.
Pamela Inamba there with that report. Now, Eastern Province is set to benefit from increased fish production following an investment of 1.8 million kwacha in developing aquaculture activities in Chipata. The support, which is from the World Bank through the Zambia Integrated Forest Landscape Project, has enabled the beneficiary cooperative to construct a greenhouse that will facilitate the high production of fingerlings. Take a look.
Although Eastern Province is endowed with arable land for high crop production, the region is however facing poor fish production due to lack of natural water bodies. Now measures have been put in place to support fish production as the World Bank through the Zambia Integrated Forest and Landscape Project ZIFU is offering financial and technical support to Msatai Cooperative in Chipata to venture into the fish production. This support also includes the construction of a greenhouse for fingerling production and installation of fish cages in a local dam.
We are implementing a grants component where we are giving sub-grants to communities to venture into various income-generating activities. And one such kind or area where communities are venturing into is to do with aquaculture. It helps communities to move away from producing charcoal into fish farming. And that's a low carbon emitting kind of project.
What is the importance of the greenhouse and cages in fish production?
The major role that the greenhouse is playing actually is just some temperature control, which is very important when you're talking about fish breeding. So what I'm trying to say is that in the absence of a greenhouse, just like this one behind, we were supposed to stop breeding fish as Department of Fisheries. But with support from ZIFU, we've continued breeding even off-season. So each one of those ponds, we're expecting together the whole greenhouse. We're expecting slightly above 200,000 fingerlings per cycle. That's a cycle of slightly above 2 months. This is the first for Eastern Province. It's the first time that we have a greenhouse. So we'll be able to produce fingerlings throughout the year and meet the demand which is rising in the province.
The cooperative is convinced that the production of fingerlings will significantly impact on fish production and availability.
Hii project mnaona monga cages awali hapa. So hapa tafika hapa 90% ya ndalama zemina na kipasa. Somba izinga tutafakamo after 6 months zafanyika utiti tichose somba zijatika gulise. Chifukwa somba zemene sizibalana zose ni somba zofanikira zikakula nthawi imodzi mwendo gulisa then mapeza ndrama. Ngenga tutagulisa tapeza ndrama taendoika kwa account tisankhalanso pansi as a community as a cooperative tizachita nazo branch kapena nuthandizira monga nkhani ya fertilizer.
Lubasi Mtafela, Zanis, Chipata District, Eastern Province.
In other news, Stella Goma reports that 5 victims in Limulunga District of Western Province have received building materials to construct their houses, which are destroyed by incidents of infernos. Speaking during the handover ceremony, Luena Member of Parliament Movita Anakoka says the Constituency Development Fund Disaster and Contingency component has enabled 5 households to receive relief after they applied for it.
Luena Member of Parliament Movita Anakoka has handed over building materials to fire disaster victims whose houses were burnt to ashes. The assistance has come through the Constituency Development Fund, Disaster and Contingency Funds. Limulunga Town Council procured 150 poles, 50 planks and 70 roofing sheds to assist fire victims who appealed to government for relief.
Each one of them will be supported with 14 iron sheets, 30 poles and 10 planks. This is to enable them reconstruct their houses which were destroyed during various fire incidences that were reported. We are using this opportunity also to appeal to members of the community that most of these fires occur when people are preparing their fields, which is round about this time of the year. That there's a lot of carelessness in the way people are lighting up fires in order to prepare their fields for planting.
This is a great achievement, but as we are here, maybe I would caution on one thing. For the people who are frequently losing or having their things burnt, houses burnt, I think this habit should not continue. because government may not give a person who has lost just one household. We need to take care of the things which we have. We ensure that fire should not be near your houses.
And Limulunga East Ward Councillor Lubinda Muyunda and beneficiaries have thanked government for the gesture.
On behalf of the community, we want to say thank you to the government and also the leaders that have been involved and have worked hard to make sure that the people were going to be, as disaster is there to mitigate the implications of loss in the community. So this fund is going direct to the people and they have been met halfway.
Nina matata asinyi hero yandu. Ndua kane ichile minili kakafane lichile. Nenisiezi mwa manyandu. Nenchinda nanga kwa muso kupatuso kono ba muso ba intusize. Kweni fitisa witumelo. Waba intusize kaofea kulina mulimu. Abaye kelele. Nifumanili tuso. Tama senke 14 misumo ya seti ni mabala 10.
Stella Goma reporting for Zanis in Limulunga District, Western Province.
Government has disbursed over 259 million kwacha to farmers who supplied maize to the Food Reserve Agency FRA in Northern Province. Northern Province Deputy Permanent Secretary Lewis Mwape says the ongoing payments are progressing well. We have more in the following report.
These are farmers who have supplied their maize to the Food Reserve Agency in the ongoing 2023 crop marketing season. The farmers who were found on the queues at different banks are waiting for their turn to receive payments for supplying maize to the agency. This follows the disbursement of over 259 million kwacha by government to pay farmers, as Northern Province Deputy Permanent Secretary Lewis Mwape explains.
So far, an amount of about 259 million kwacha has been disbursed to farmers from the amount that has been supplied so far. We only have about 50 million that needs to be paid to the farmers in the province. So the payment has been progressing very well.
Farmers have commended government for paying them on time.
Kuri bafama na basakamana sana na bapela impia panshita ishe yalinge ishte isuma.
Meanwhile, farmers from Chipili village appealed to government to consider establishing a depot in their locality.
Panshitula in the 4 hours. So tule bomfyama transport kulipila amata bakuba myotoka ukuya kushedi kuna kwa makazi. Tulepo sendela machine. So mwebuteko tulangulukeni ko ukutuletera concentrate kuchipili.
So if abana ma turayirishanya sana turachure chipesha mano kumusango no musebu wakutola ko amataka kushedi yero turalomba ko na shedi ifa kuchipili mwatupela ko shedi.
The quick payments to farmers this marketing season will enable them to plan adequately for the upcoming farming season in order to maximize production. Helen Bwalia for Zanis in Kasama, Northern Province.
The news continues. Construction of 3 fire stations in Lusaka at a cost of over 11 million kwacha have been completed, awaiting commissioning. Speaking after touring Chilenje, Charleston and Bonaventure fire stations, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development Permanent Secretary for Technical Services Nicholas Piri said the construction of all the 3 fire stations have been completed with only a few things remaining.
Late last year, government allocated over 11 million kwacha for the completion of the construction of 3 sub-fire stations in Lusaka. The stations, which are located in Chilenje, Charleston, and Makeni Bonaventure areas, have since been completed, awaiting commissioning. Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development Permanent Secretary for Technical Services, Nicholas Piri, inspected the stations.
In 2021, when we formed government, we embarked on an ambitious program to complete all the projects that were strategic, and the Charleston Fire Station, the Chilenje Fire Station, and the Bonaventure Fire Station was among those. And I must also hasten to mention that this is what we talk about when we are talking about decentralization, taking the services closer to the people. Not only have we done that for the CDF, but even for other essential services such as the fire stations and fire services, as we have seen here.
Mr. Piri called on the business community to come on board and help with the final touches on the construction of the fire stations.
We are looking at putting in beds, for the firemen and women. We are looking at placing, a fire machine, fire tender, so they are called. We are looking at securing an ambulance, for emergency works, and other essential things, mattresses, and so on and so forth. And I want to take this opportunity to appeal to the cooperating partners and the business houses to please come on board. Partner with the ministry, partner with the Lusaka City Council, the mayor is here. Whatever you can contribute, if you can contribute beds, bunker beds, you are welcome.
Lusaka Mayor Chilando Chitangala also accompanied the permanent secretary.
We are happy, we are grateful, and we hope that the people of the city will also appreciate by taking care of this infrastructure. I think it's very important that we shouldn't vandalize these three structures. They're very important to all of us. They save lives. But like you also heard, it's important that we also call other stakeholders to come on board and just help.
Works on the construction of these fire stations had stalled for over 7 years due to financial constraints. Jane Simalumba Zanis in Lusaka.
Northern Province Minister Leonard Imbao says the example set by Paramount Chief Chitimukulu and the Litunga Lubosi Imwiko II to work together must be emulated by other traditional leaders across the country to promote unity and peace. Speaking following the Litunga's tour of the Chishimba Falls in Kasama district, Mr. Mbao says history had been made by the two traditional leaders' efforts to unite the two cultures. We have more in the following report.
It is a marvel to watch. The Chishimba Falls, just off the Mpolokoso Kasama Road in Northern Province, is made up of 3 separate waterfalls. Paramount Chief Chitimukulu of the Bemba people of Northern Province has showcased the natural phenomena to his guest, the Litunga of the Lozi people of Western Province. The Litunga has been taken on a conducted tour of the falls to appreciate the beauty of the natural phenomena.
Before COVID, this site used to receive, on average, about 13,000 visitors per annum. But during the COVID period, yes. But during the COVID period, our visitor numbers went down to 7,000. So in 2020, we only had about 7,000 visitors. It was a major drop. The visitor numbers have started going up. So from the 7,000 that we had in 2020, that was the lowest. Last year, we had about 9,300. So we are seeing an upward trend, meaning that we are recovering.
At the Information Center, the Litunga has lent about 200 other waterfalls dotted around the northern circuit. Northern Province Minister Leonard Imbao has highlighted the significance of the Litunga's visit to Northern Province.
As we indicated yesterday, our two leaders, you have reshaped the history of this country. Going forward, we are not going forward as the same people. We are going forward as a different nation.
The Litunga has been in Bembaland on a 4-day visit to the region. Victor Mwila for Zanis in Kasama, Northern Province.
Government says Zambia's economy has expanded just by 2.7% from an initial projection of 4.2% in the last 6 months of 2023. Minister of Finance and National Planning Stumbeko Msokotwane has attributed the slow rise in the economic projection due to ongoing challenges in the mining sector, which has resulted in low copper production. Dr. Msokotwane was speaking at the Town Hall Forum on the 2023 Mid-Year Economic Performance and 2024 to 2026 Medium-Term Budget Planning in Lusaka.
Minister of Finance and National Planning, Stombeko Msokotwane, was among government officials that attended the Town Hall Forum on the 2023 mid-year economic performance and the 2024 to 2026 medium-term budget planning. Minister of Finance and National Planning highlighted the performance of the economy in the first half of 2023.
The domestic economy, we have revised growth for 2023 to 2.7% from the initial projection of 4.2%. This is largely attributed to ongoing drag in the mining sector, as evidenced by the low copper production in the first half of the year of 2023 to production at 321,779 metric tons compared to 365,042 tons over the same period in 2022. As we move further into the second half of the year and over the medium term, we expect an improvement in mining production as we resolve the challenges in some of the mining companies, including KCM and Mobile.
And Secretary to the Treasury, Felix Nkulukusa, said there is a growing confidence in Zambia's economy as the government works to restore the fiscal sustainability.
Is that approximately $5.8 billion in debt service savings will be realized between 2023 and 2031. Two is that we will now pay around $750 million in the next 10 years, as opposed to $6.3 billion that was due and we were supposed to pay during this period.
Zambia Revenue Authority Commissioner General also attended the forum.
The first half of the year, the ZRA collected a gross of 56.1 billion and refunded 8.1 billion, resulting in a net collection of 48 billion. The net collection for the period up to June 2023 was 4 billion below the target.
Stakeholders in the economy also made their submissions.
Sustain inflation at single-digit levels, which is in the range of 6 to 8%. Maintain foreign exchange reserves to at least 3 months of import cover, and increase domestic resource mobilization to 21.9% by 2026.
Audrey Kalenga, Zanis News, Lusaka.
Namwala Member of Parliament Herbert Mapani says government is committed to taking development closer to the grassroots, as evidenced by the increased Constituency Development Fund, CDF. The Member of Parliament pointed out that 5 schools which were found at slab level and some at window level were completed before the CDF committee embarked on new projects in the district. Mr. Mapani disclosed that 5 schools which had some incomplete structures were completed, namely at Chitumbi, Kei, Bwizu and Santi schools. The Member of Parliament further disclosed that the Constituency Development Fund Committee resolved that it first completes capital projects under the 1.6 million kwacha allocation before commencing on new ones, which range from schools, OPD at health posts, solar water reticulation systems, modern ablutions, and among others.
And now we have embarked on this exercise of registering those who didn't complete schools in the categories that I've just given out. The new Dawn government is sending those people to go back to school, to go and have some skills. Electricians, mechanics, drivers, bricklayers, plumbers, everything. And this service is given to people at a no-fee rate, meaning it's free. Here in Namala constituency, we have sent 263
A team from the European Union, EU, and other partner organizations, including German Development Bank, is in Eastern Province for continued talks and assessments on a prospective water project in the region. The team leader, Roman Iranzo, says the prospective project, dubbed Nexus Energy Water in Zambia, plans on improving energy consumption of targeted water utilities, among them Eastern Water and Sanitation Company, by introducing the use of solar energy. He says once implemented, the project will look into replacing some pumps and generally improve the water network in both urban and rural areas of Eastern Province. He was speaking in Chipata when he called on Eastern Province Minister Peter Piri. And Mr. Iranzo says a team is already on site working with Eastern Water and Sanitation Company to understand its operations and challenges to properly identify areas of need. Meanwhile, Mr. Piri said implementing the project would help solve water and sanitation challenges first by some sections of the region. The minister added that a substantial number of the population in Eastern Province still face challenges in accessing clean and safe water, especially in rural areas. We end the news just there, but let us take a look at the top stories again. President Hichilema invited to attend Saudi African Summit slated for November. RIA commissions Chiobola Chisuo Power Grid. World Bank invests 1.8 million kwacha in fish production in Eastern Province. Plus, traditional leaders urged to emulate Chitimukulu-Litunga relations. Thank you so much for watching. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is Amos Zulu. Bye for now.